Hi everybody, Carol Garrison here with Carol's Creative Escape. It is time for another Make It Monday. Today is Monday, March 31st, and I am coming to you from White Bear Lake, Minnesota. And I thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule, whether you're watching me live tonight or catching it on replay. I do appreciate every one of you that takes time to watch one of my videos. I am a card maker, have been doing this for roughly 30 years. And my videos at this point are not to sell you anything, but to really encourage you to simply start using the stash that you have on file. If you're anything like me, hi Kim, thanks for joining in. You have lots of supplies on hand, and I'm trying to encourage you to use those supplies. I will tell you that I started this basically the first of this year. And it has been so much fun for me to go back and look at some of my old stamps, work with some of my old papers, and see how I can combine them with some of the cardstock that I have, and pull out ribbons, because I always have extra ribbons, always have extra ribbon to use. And it's actually challenging my creativity a little bit too, because originally I used it this way because it's how it was in the catalog or with the stamp set, or how I learned to use it. And now I get to try some different things with it. So I encourage you to dig into that stash and try a few of these projects. If all you have is new stuff and that's what you want to use, go for that too. I'm not saying you can't use that, but don't be afraid to dig back into some of that old stuff that you haven't looked at for a while too. It can be a lot of fun. Here in Minnesota, we're in our season that we refer to as the Theater of Seasons, which basically means we can go from having a 70-degree one day to a blizzard the next day. And that is really what the last few days have been like here. We had some actually gorgeous sunshine, warm days, and then we had another storm come through. We were lucky because most of ours came in the form of rain. I think we probably got close to 1.5 inches of rain, which at this time of year is nice when the ground isn't frozen solid anymore, because it does soak in and we do need moisture here as well. But now today we had sunshine, although it wasn't as warm. I think it was in the low 40s. And we have another storm coming through. Sounds like, from what I last heard, we're in the belt for 2 to 4 inches, but they're saying it's not going to stick to our roadways. So we'll see what tomorrow's commute home brings, because that's when it's really going to impact my drive. It sounds like the morning will still be okay. Keep hoping now that we're entering the month of April that things will be a little steadier and a little nicer for us. We'll see what happens. So I hope that wherever you are in the country, that you haven't been impacted too bad by the storms that have been rolling through. I know there's been some pretty damaging things occurring, and I'm grateful that we've missed those here, but again, hope everybody else is safe as well. So tonight I am going to show you 3 different layouts that you can do with a one-sheet wonder. Now, typically when I see one-sheet wonders, it involves lots of cutting little pieces, bringing it all together. What I like about this is it's a 6x6 one-sheet wonder, and you're basically making 3 cards. It's rectangle squares that you're cutting, which keeps it simple. The cards are easy to assemble, and right now for me that's real important. I'm working on a project where I need to be able to make a lot of cards for a very specific situation, and I have found that this layout works really well for that. So I want to share that with you tonight. So let me go ahead and flip my camera over here. Change it from my ceiling to my desktop. There we go. All right. And I have oh, now I feel like I'm so far away. Let me play with my camera just a little bit and see if I can get us closer. Bear with me. Yeah, you can see all my mess around. Don't look at that. I do try to keep my workstation and my video area clear of debris. I don't always do that, but I try. The rest of it, it's not always so good, but we'll see what happens with this. Hopefully, let me just see if I can. it's strange because I'm really not that far away. I'm just surprised things are coming up as small as they are right now. There. At least then you don't see the clutter that's on my floor. Okay, so sorry for those adjustments. Every time I think I finally got it right, I find out that I don't. So let me show you first the cards that I'm looking at. And just to show you a little bit of the variety that this layout can do, I've got a couple Christmas cards. So you can see the 3 pieces of designer series paper that I'm using here. Very simple layouts. And it's actually kind of a hybrid one sheet wonder because I am using designer series paper for the background piece as well. But you could either use cardstock, emboss something, or use designer series paper, whatever is easiest for you. In the cards I'm sharing with you today, that is what I've chosen to do on 2 of the cards, 2 of the sets. The 3rd set, I did actually just emboss a piece of cardstock. So that's one set of cards, and I've kept it very simple on the inside, just stamping a sentiment. So these are the Christmas cards that I've created using that layout. And then I've had this paper around forever, and I found it and thought, oh, it's really pretty. Apparently when I bought it, I got this paper to coordinate with it, but I needed one more paper, and I did have in my stash a little bit of that color. So that worked out well to be able to utilize this, and even got to use some of the colors that we don't have anymore. I think this was soft suede from years ago with Stampin' Up, if you remember that color. So I've got a lovely birthday card using the same layout. I've got a sympathy card, thinking of you, and then a second sympathy card, thinking of you. And on the inside of those, I've just stamped it with remembering the life of someone so special and sending thoughts of sympathy and peace. So those are just another example. And here I did embossing instead of using designer series paper. So that works for you either way. It just depends on the card. And I know these are little stars with fireworks or whatever coming up, but to me they also look like flowers, and it kind of matched that little flower in there. So that's why I chose this embossing folder. You can be creative if you want on things like that. So what I'd like to do is show you how to make this card. And so the very first thing I'm going to do is start with the measurements. We are making 3 cards, and so you'll need 2 pieces of cardstock that measure 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2, and 1 piece of cardstock that's 5 1/2 scored at, or excuse me, 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 scored at 4 1/4. Now, to be honest, you can have your cards go whatever directions you want. They could all be 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, whatever you're comfortable doing. It'll work just the same. I've got 3 pieces of designer series paper that measures 4 by 5. This is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and that'll be the background piece. And then I've got a piece of 2 pieces of navy blue cardstock here, and these measure 3 1/8 by 4 1/8. And then my last piece is 2 1/8 inches by just under 5 1/2 inches. And the reason I'm saying just under but not 5 3/8 is because it's going to go the length of the card, and I kind of discovered that if I do it exactly 5 1/2, I was always having to trim off. So if I keep it at just under that 5 1/2, I'm hoping that I'm not going to have to trim that. We'll see what happens. I also have 3 pieces of cardstock for the inside of my card that measures the typical 4 by 5 1/4. And I have pre-stamped everything. And then I have just scraps of cardstock that I've used to create 3 different happy birthday sentiments for my cards. And then last but not least, I have a piece of 6 by 6 designer series paper. Now this particular one happens to come from a sheet of 12 by 12 that I just cut as a 6 by 6 piece of paper. So you can do that, or you can use some of the 6x6 paper that you may have on hand. So the very first cut that we're going to make is at 4 inches. And so I'm just lining that up on my trimmer and cutting it. And then I am going to rotate this and cut it at 3 inches, which will give me 2 pieces of pattern paper that measures 3 inches by 4 inches. When you're cutting this, just make sure that you have this going the direction that it should be. These are actually flags, so if I put it like this, it might look like, I don't know, tents or something else. So I do want to make sure when I put it on my paper that I have it running the right direction. Now with this paper, I am not going to be able to do probably this layout. Although I still can. Nope, I can. Never mind. It's going to work. So I've got anyhow 2 pieces that measure 3 by 4. And then this piece is 2 inches. And I want to cut this one again just under 5 3/8. Or excuse me, just under 5 1/2. And then the only piece I'm not using is a 1/2 inch strip by 2 inches. I don't have a problem not using that. So again, I like this one Sheet Wonder because it has easy to use pieces. I'm not fussing with a bunch of little pieces that I need to tape down or anything like that. That's just kind of my cup of tea. So to start with, we'll go ahead and create these layers. I'm going to have one that goes like this, one that goes here, and one that's going here. And at this point in my assembly, I don't need to worry about what direction I'm putting it. It's when I attach it to the card that I will really need to be concerned with that. All right. Before I went live, I took a quick walk with my husband and the dog, knowing that I probably will not be able to go out tomorrow night just because of our weather. So it was nice to get out into the fresh air quick before going live here tonight. We've started doing that every day. We need to be doing it. It's good for us, but we've really made a concerted effort to get out every night. The dog loves it, and it's good for us as well. So, except for the weather, we're trying to do it every night. I suppose if the weather's really bad for outdoor walking tomorrow, we could go up to our high school has an indoor walking track that we could use. We just can't bring the dog with us. So now what I'm doing is just lining my designer paper on top of my Night of Navy. And I'm just making sure that I have those little borders all the way around. So then the next piece that we're going to want to do, these are going to go on my cards like this. So this way there's a strong wind, they're all blowing that direction. This way they're hanging like a banner. And on here I've just got them again hanging like a banner. I am going to take some red ribbon that I have on hand, and I am going to do a little bit of cheating with my ribbon. This is a great way to save on ribbon, and it's also, for me, an easy way to make bows, because sometimes I'm better at it than other days. And so I've just found this to be a quick and easy kind of bow. I can do the others, and maybe I'll give one a whirl on one of these cards today. But I will also show you my shortcut, is I just then cut a piece of ribbon like this, and I'm going to just tie it around the ribbon that I've got here already. And that makes a nice faux bow. It kind of looks like you've tied that knot. And then you can just trim it down to get the tails whatever length you want them to be. And boom, you've got it. All right, so that's how one of them is going to go. And then I'm going to set one up to go the other direction on the card. And again, I've seen people just hold these down with regular pieces of, Scotch tape or something. I kind of find it's, for me, my preferred technique is to do a little bit of my tape adhesive on the back, and then I can be looking at the front and wrapping it around and know that I have it placed where I want it. Can't always do that when I have it coming from behind like that. So again, I'm just going to cut off a little strip. Don't shortchange yourself on this particular piece, because I have found if I do it too short, it actually can be kind of challenging to get those knots in there. So just to save yourself some grief, give yourself a little extra to work with. All right. And then we're going to do this one. Same thing. I know it seems like of late I have been making, maybe I want it to go down a little lower, more than one card a night. I have no reason for it other than as I'm working through my stash and trying some different things with it, I have found that I can create more than one card at a time and not have it get, hopefully, too long-winded on the video. So here I'm going to go ahead and do a little bow. Now I've got this ribbon maker or bow maker that my dad made for me years ago, and so I do still pull it out on occasion. You can do a similar thing if you've got a fork, because I'm really just using the tines to create my bow. And so here I've got my bow. I do find that I need to kind of twist this one so that it is in a better location for me. But there we do have a bow. I do not like that it's both heading up that way, or opposite ways, I guess. I'm going to try to manipulate it a little bit to get those two tails coming down in the same direction. And this would be why I sometimes struggle making my bows, even with my little bow maker. All right. We'll tighten up that side, maybe. Or maybe not. I don't like it's uneven. Let me try that again. And if any of you are really good at making bows and have suggestions on how I can not run into this issue with those funky tails and stuff, let me know. I am always open to learning something a little bit different. All right, now I'm happy with my bow. I'm just going to trim my tails off a little bit. And for this one, I will just be setting it down on top of my ribbon somehow. We'll figure that one out when we get there. All right, let's start assembling the cards. And really the only reason I did this, one 5.5 by 8 and two the 4 1/4, was to show you that you can do these any way that you want. You don't have to have it 4 1/4 by 11. I typically actually do the 5.5 by 8.5, but you can do it either way. Do what you're most comfortable with. So I'm starting by burnishing along the score lines. And then I'm just going to take this piece of Designer Series paper and add some adhesive and put this on the front of my cardstock. For those of you in the know with Stamping Up, this particular colored cardstock is Coastal Cabana, and that is what this color was in this paper as well. So I'm just going to repeat this. Bear with me one moment. All right. And Coastal Cabana was one of the colors in this particular designer series paper when it came out a few years back. So just in case you're wondering. And actually this was when they were still putting their logo. So I'm going to just kind of bury that at the bottom. And that may determine where I place my sentiment too. Sometimes you don't want those words showing. We'll see what happens. And you'll notice when I'm doing my adhesive, I typically kind of make a Z, and I'll just add a couple little pieces along the sides here. That just keeps it from bowing out a little bit on the edges. I'm not really saving a huge amount of adhesive doing it that way, but I think it helps with some. All right, and then I have already stamped my inside, so I am going to go ahead and assemble that too. Now I want to be careful. I already know I screwed up. All right, so I stamped all three the same direction, when in reality one of them should have gone this way. So I am going to fix that, and we'll put one of these in here. That's the problem when I stamp ahead, right? I don't always keep in mind the direction it's going to be on my card. All right, and then I've got one that's opening up this way. And in theory, I could do them all this way, but because I've now set my paper on with my ribbon, I really want to have it go the other way, and it'll bug me to no end if I don't do that. So let me grab the stamp set. This will just take a second. And again, my paper's got two sides to it, so I'm really not out anything on the paper. And in case you're wondering, this is Peaceful Moments. It's a retired stamp set, but is one I used the greetings a lot when it was not retired, and I've continued to do the same. All right, so this I am going to, I think, just put down in the corner like that. That way I can still write a note to whoever's going to receive this. All right, now I'm not cleaning my stamp block off, but I am going to get it out of the way because I'm notorious for getting my fingers into my ink and smearing it. All right. I'm grateful this was the back side of my paper. I think I managed to avoid getting ink onto the front. Yes, I did. All right. And this one I'm going to have go the long way on my 4 1/4 by 11 card base. Okay. So now we've got these three things assembled. We're going to stick our paper on the front of it. So on this card, I am going to set it up to go, let's see, that one's going to go this way. I'm going to set it up to go this way. And again, I'm just going to put some adhesive on. Now, when I do my ribbon on the back like this, I will usually drag a little bit of adhesive over the edge of it just to make sure that I am have those tails covered. So we're going to just center this now inside this card, and that's how you create that layer. On this card, we're going to put it on this way, and again I'm going to add a little adhesive over the tail. You always want to run in the direction the tail is ending up, because if I go this way, it's just going to pull up that tail. Hopefully that makes some sense. And I don't have any in the corner here, so I'm going to add. That was kind of a wonky way of putting adhesive on. And then here's where I just want to make sure I'm putting it on in the correct direction to go with the way I've stamped the inside of my card. So there's my second card. And then last but not least, let's add it for this one. So again, we'll put some adhesive. I'm going to put a dab here, a dab here. And then this one, I'm just going to line up so that it goes from top to bottom on my card. And it did work going just slightly less than that 5.5 inches because I don't have any overhang for either piece of card. So that's just a little tip that I can share with you on that. So the next thing I've got is this little red bow, and I'm going to use some glue dots. I always like using 2 glue dots on the back of my bows, simply because I think it sticks better. I'm not sure if it makes a difference or not. That's how I do it. And I'm just going to stick that on top of that ribbon border. And then what I need to do is figure out what sentiments are going to go on which card. Now, this is the one that's got that logo piece, and I really would like to cover that up. I think that looks kind of funky. I don't like that. But I could put it right there, and that's going to cover it up for me. I might actually put this one right here. Right there. And then I've got this piece here, and that one I think I am going to put off center, just because it stands out a little bit more. I could put this piece here, but then I'm covering up a lot of that ribbon. I think I'm just going to kind of offset all of these. I do want to pop these up onto dimensionals, because I think that adds a little to the card. I don't waste a single bit of my foam dimensional pieces here. So I cut even the border that goes around those pieces and make sure I use every bit of them. It's not that they're super expensive regardless of the brand that you use. It's just more the principle of throwing away something that is still usable. All right, so there's my first happy birthday card. And then let's do this one. And, you know, on this one, I think I actually do want to use the full, only because it'll cover the whole width of the card and not be too skinny so that it kind of wobbles back and forth. And I am going to center that right here. There's no right or wrong for where you place your sentiment. It's really up to you and what you like. I've got this little piece I can go ahead and use. I haven't cut any more around here. I typically won't do that till I'm done using the dimensional sheets around that area, because sometimes they will pop off if you cut it too soon. All right. Also had something kind of fun and exciting, although I haven't got to see her yet. I have a really good friend going back to... Oh, do you see what I just did? Ugh. I put it on the front, you guys. What was I thinking? Anyhow, I have a really good friend from junior high, actually. We met in 7th grade band. We both played the clarinet. Is moving back up to Minnesota, and she arrived yesterday, and so that's very exciting to have her nearby again. I'm looking forward to being able to spend time with her spread out instead of trying to squeeze it all into one of the visits that she had been making previously. So, welcome home, Kelly. All right, there we go. That was a quick rescue, and I don't even have any adhesive stuck on that happy birthday part. Yay! So that is a quick and easy way to make 3 cards out of a 6x6 sheet of patterned paper. Again, I've got 3 what I would consider more masculine birthday cards that I made out of it. I've got Christmas cards that I made using the same pattern. And then I've got thinking of you or condolence cards, sympathy cards, or a birthday card on the more feminine florally side of things. So quick and easy patterns. So let me repeat again measurements. You can use either 4 1/4 by 11 or 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 cardstock for your card base. This layer of designer series paper is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. That just gives you the real narrow border. If you want to do 4 by 5 1/4, you will actually get 6 pieces then out of a designer series paper sheet, 12 by 12 sheet. So it just depends on the look that you're going for. This navy blue layer is 4 1/8 by 3 1/8. This designer paper is 3 by 4 inches. Scraps for my sentiment. And then again, on the inside of my card, I have got 4 by 5 1/4. So these 2 cards are actually the same measurements. I just flip-flopped around the direction that that paper was heading. So one is horizontal, one is portrait. This piece, the card base is the same. And then this Night of Navy piece is 2 1/8 by just under 5 1/2. And the designer series paper is 2 inches, just under 5 1/2. And then, of course, this is still the 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And then 4 by 5 1/4 on the inside. Again, all my sentiments were stamped on scrap pieces. I don't throw away any of my white or cream colored paper because I can always dig it out and do a sentiment on it quite easily. So there you go. 3 cards, 1 6 by 6 piece of designer paper. You will use a little bit more if you choose to use designer paper in the background as opposed to cardstock. It doesn't matter. It's all real pretty. You can do what suits your fancy. I hope everybody has enjoyed this video, and I will, I do want to let you know one thing. I have done a lot of my videos live on Facebook, and they have changed the number of days that videos will stay. I used to be able to keep them forever, and now they have limited it to 30 days. And so I'm starting to see some of my videos dropping off on Facebook. I will let you know that if there is a particular video that you want to see, I do always post all of my videos on my YouTube channel, which is Carol's Creative Escape as well. And you can always find those videos there. I'm looking for an alternative because I don't want to have to worry about videos getting missed. And if I figure out the system I'm going to start using, I'll let you know. But in the meantime, my videos will always be available on Facebook, and I will probably start posting links with those videos just so that you can always find them on YouTube if it does happen to drop off on Facebook. All right. I will see everybody next week. Thanks again for joining me. Take care and have a great week. Bye-bye.